This week on the True Geordie Podcast, we have a man who's described as one of the baddest men in the country, a hitman with his own firm and connections to some of the most notorious killers this country has ever seen. It's Bobby Cummines. At one time, one of the most dangerous men in the country, who's been known to associate with people such as the Krays and do some pretty bad things, mate. But sitting looking at you now, you come across as a nice guy.
I'm a nice guy.
It's one of those things. It's quite strange. But after reading up on your life and deciding to get you on the podcast, I realised that people would love to hear your story because we hear a lot about the era that you come from. Yeah. We've all seen the Krays movies and the documentaries about people like that, and you were associating with them. And it's romanticised, and I think it would be good for you to sort of tell your story about what it was really like back in those days.
Well, Brian, what you've got to look at is people that are glorifying it weren't even born when we were doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's all hearsay and make-believe and fantasy. Uh-huh. The reality is a different ball game to what that life is. Uh-huh. You know, we had rules, like if there was a contract on you, I couldn't shoot you in front of your wife and kids because I wouldn't want that done on me. Uh-huh. So if you did that, then you got punished. So, and it was about, you know, people say the underworld and all that. I think it's somewhere on the Piccadilly line between Islington and King's Cross. You know, it was firms. There was different firms which specialised in different things. And it was just business. I mean, someone called me a gangster once, you know, and I didn't like that because I stuck a gun in his mouth and educated him, but I wasn't one of them. And
that's a noble way to give an education, mate.
Well, it solved the problem. You know, first you educate them. If you can't educate them, you intimidate them. And if they still don't learn out of that and try and shoot you, which they did on me, then you've got to eliminate them. Either way you do it, so, you know.
It's been interesting to see how you view things today, because like where we are, I mean, there's murders left, right and centre around where we're even doing this podcast from right now, and it seems like people are just running wild, and it seems like back in the day, you call it the firm, it was organised. It was organised crime in the truest sense of the word.
Well, guns are too easily available now. You can get a replica, change the block, and you got a gun. So to get a gun in them days, you had to be well connected, and people had to well know you. Because what we didn't want was a lunatic running back shooting people, innocent people, because then the old bill would come in. I mean, they didn't mind if we shot each other. I mean, it was one less to look for. But if you started hurting innocent people, 3 people you couldn't do. You couldn't do an innocent member of the public, you couldn't do the media, right, and you couldn't do old Bill, because it would close everyone's business up, because they would come on the manor, flood the manor with old Bill, and no one would earn any money. And this is what I tried to explain to people. I weren't a gangster, never had been a gangster. I was a businessman whose business was crime. And, you know, to me, I didn't know what straight goers done. I weren't interested in what they'd done. You know, they lived their life. They were just part of a crowd in Oxford Street. I lived in amongst my own people. And it was that culture. You knew the rules. So if you was going to do Villainy and you subscribed to that world, you knew what was going to happen if you rolled over and was a rat or anything like that. Mm-hmm.
So, like, can you tell us how you ended up getting into that world in the first place?
Yeah, first off, I mean, my family were all straight goers.
No, I read that about you. That's what surprised me, because I kind of thought your dad would have been that way or whatever.
No, there weren't no I was the one who corrupted them all. You know, yeah, because they'd never seen money like that. You know, they was hard working, they were bricklayers. Well, we were quite wealthy. Then my dad got made bankrupt, and that's why I didn't mind doing banks, because I thought, you took it off of us, I'm taking it back. You know, it was sort of balancing up the scales a little bit, and I liked doing it. So it was a thing. But what really happened, I worked in a shipping office, and that was, you know.
How old were you when something?
I was 15.
All right.
Because I left school early, you know, and I went in the shipping office. I quite liked it. I worked on Tower Hill, you know, so I used to sit there, had me lunch with all the other young kids who had left school early, because I come from a poor family, you know, an Irish family of 8 kids. Yeah. So 4 boys, 4 girls. So we brought up hard. If you want anything in life, you've got to go out and graft for it. So we were workers, basically. All my family were workers. And I was walking through Finsbury Park one day, and there was a couple of kids I knew from my old school, and they was messing about, and someone fired a starting pistol. And these 2 old Bill in uniform from Stoke Newington went over, was pulling them and getting a bit heavy with them. So me being leery, well, I've always been leery, I went, you can't do that without a responsible adult being here. And he went, what, are you a lawyer? You seem to know it all. And I went, I know me rights. He went, all right, fair enough. They walked out of Finsbury Park, come back with a cutthroat razor, threw it on the ground and went, "We just see you throw that," and nicked me. Right, now, remember, I've got no form, I'm a straight goer then. My old man comes down the law shop and, you know, my mum's broken down in tears. They're straight going family, you know. I don't want to hurt my mum and dad. We were very close, we still are, a close-knit family.
You know, when you first, sorry to interrupt you, mate, you know, when you first sort of thought to say this to this police officer, was there something in, because a lot of people just wouldn't have said a thing, you know. Were you taught your rights by, you know, your dad or someone? Where did you pick that up?
Well, my godfather was an illegal bookmaker in the old days. So he used to tell me with the law, you know, if they pull you, you say this, you know, because he was a crook. Right? And so I grew up in King's Cross area. It was, you know, not exactly, you know, it was full of prostitutes and drug dealers, all sorts of things going on.
It's different now though, isn't it? Because King's Cross has been completely gentrified.
Yeah, but you look at Islington now. Yeah. I mean, it was a sort of half a slum area, but now you've got to have £1 million to go and live in Chapel Street around that area. You know, live it
used to be quite different though. So what did it used to be like? Because I think a lot of people, when I first came to London, it wasn't like that. It was sort of
it's hard to imagine it. Sort of thing.
Well, when we was kids, you know, we used to go down King's Cross because they're by the nose round the carriages, see whatever we could nick, because everyone was a thief, or they had a fiddle going. So we'd all have a little bit of bent gear or something like that. And I mean, even as a kid, we used to go and collect newspapers on a trolley, an old pull cart trolley, and we'd send to the fish and chip shop, and that's where the guy didn't pay us, and I picked up a dead cat from the building site. I meant to throw it at him, and it hit the counter and went into his fryer, and he freaked out, had to close his shop down, and he went to see my dad. But my dad also used to do bare knuckle fighting on a Sunday. He was a bit handy with his hands.
I love that, on a Sunday.
Yeah. And when they bashed each other up, we'd sit outside the pub door and they'd give us our crisps and our lemonade, and we used to like it when they got pissed, because when they got pissed, they'd come out and throw the pennies in the air. If they was really pissed, sometimes there'd be like 2 bob in there or something like that, so we'd have a right load up, and we'd go pictures, Saturday morning pictures and all that sort of thing. And so I grew up in an area where really crime weren't seen as crime, it was survival. And everyone helped each other, and in that area, everyone left their door open, because we had one thing in common: we was all skint, so no one's going to rob off each other. And if you could go in anyone's house, sit down at the table, and they'd have a meal, and it was there was no racism or nothing like that. It was all cosmopolitan people, you know. You had Italians there, Maltese there, you know, black people there. There was none of that, because we was all skint, so we all looked after each other, and we all went to school together and grew up, and. It was a nice, you know, we could play it on the street, and there was none of this worrying about your kids out on the street.
Yeah.
So it was that sort of area, you know, and people cared about each other, you know. And the old girls, if your mum cooked a dinner, if there was an old lady on her own whose husband had died, saying there was nothing to think of taking her a dinner in or inviting her in. It was
more of a community.
Yeah. You got it, Bri. You got it.
So you're in the cop shop now, and they've got you on a razor charge or whatever.
And my old man's walked in. And remember, he's a total straight guy, my dad, right?
Yeah.
He's walked in, he went, "What's all this about?" I went, "It's a fit-up." He said, "What are you talking about?"
How old are you? 15?
I'm 15. I said, "They fitted me up." He went, "Policemen don't do that." I went, "I'm telling you, they fitted me up." He went, "Look, your mother's broken-hearted." He went, "They said to me, if you plead guilty, it's a 10 bob fine. If you plead not guilty, you're going to Borstal." He said, "And if that happens, it'll break your mother's heart." He said, "Just go in there, take the 10 bob fine, go hands up to it, take the 10 bob fine, I'll pay it." He said, "And we walk away from it."
So just to put it into perspective, Borstal was like youth offenders prison.
Yes, that's right.
And my dad went there.
Yeah, and they were hard places.
So my dad actually is, I don't know how much I can say, but like he's basically, the place he went is being exposed for like just basically abusing kids.
It was a brutal environment.
Very brutal.
Right? Yeah. And they got away with it. You know, and they got away with a lot when I was in Parklands and all. But we can go into that as we go on.
So you didn't want to go there? So
I didn't want to go there. But well, to tell you the truth, I didn't give a monkeys, because a lot of my pals was in there. So if I'm going there, all it is like coming off the street and going in with a load of my mates I went to school with. Because they was all at it and doing terrible things, but I wasn't. And then, like, my mum was upset, and he pushed me into it. Just go hands up. So I went, all right, just to, you know, so it didn't affect the family. But then I've gone back to work, and they've read it in the local paper, and I got fired, because you couldn't have a criminal record working in a shipping office because of the invoices and all that. Right. And
it's mad that, like, your boss is...
Yeah.
What the...
Yeah, and they went, sorry, Bobby, and I got on well with them, you know, they were nice people. They were straight guys, but they was nice people. And I went home, and I said to my dad, thanks a lot, you know, lost the job. And he went, I'll come and work with me on the building site. Well, I mean, I'm 5'6", more fat than a greasy chip. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be a good odd carrier, you know what I mean? So I went, no, I'll make my own way. And I'd already been dabbling when I was a kid. I knew how to earn a pound note. I've always been able to earn a pound note. And I got mixed in with the boys who was in the same boat as me, had a criminal record. And they was doing crazy stuff, you know, really silly stuff, like putting bricks through windows and terrorising people.
But up until this point, you'd never done that. So was there a part of you that was like, well, I've got a record now, so who cares? Let's go. I might as well.
What went through my head, Brian, I thought, if you're going to fit me up and make me bad, I'll show you how bad I can really be. And I mean that I was watching the boys, and there was gangs then, you know, different firms from the Archway, Ivory, and all that. And we used to meet in a little Greek cafe, and have our cups of tea, a bit of toast, you know, whatever we could afford. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching how it's going down, and I thought, you ain't got a clue, you know, you're not organised. And I was very good at organising things, you know. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what are we going to do? I said, all right. They said, you're going to come in with us? I said, yeah, I'll come in with you. I said, but we do it my way. And they went, what? I went, we do it my way. And I went, first thing we've got to do is get it structured. We've got to organise, you know. And we've got to take over these other firms. You can't have too many firms, not enough money in it for all of us. We've got to have it, you know. And I was a bit ruthless that way. And it was funny because people, when they mention my name years later, they'll think I'm 6'6" and built like him. You know, they had the shock of their life when they see this little bald-headed guy with plastic teeth sitting there and talking. Anyway, I said, no. I said, what we need is proper weapons, because we started having the gang warfares, and we was going out with bayonets and hatchets and stuff like that. And I thought, sod that, I'm like rolling on the floor and ruining my clothes. You know, and when you was cutting them, you was getting blood on your clothes, so your clothes was messed up, you know, really fucked up. And I thought, no, it costs a lot of money. It's easier to shoot them, right? So at the age of 16, I got myself a Sawn Off. It was 410 double barrel. And
sorry, how did you go about getting a Sawn Off at the age of?
Well, I knew people that would bang at it, older ones than me.
Right.
And they'd seen me doing a lot of bad violence, so they knew, you know, I could handle a thing. And I said to one guy, I went, I need a gun. And he went, well, I went, I need a gun. I went, I'll pay you for it. He went, well, what sort of gun? I went, a Sawn Off shotgun, but I want a 410, double barrel, side by side, not over and under, side by side.
Naturally.
And he went, well, what are you going to do? I said, earn lots of money. And he went, I'll get you by tonight. So I'll give him the money. I went, and a box of cartridges, because, you know, you had to have, you weren't good having a gun.
Use the gun.
Yeah. So he got me the box of cartridges. And there was a little bit of gang warfare going on. And I walked up the archway. They sent a message there, and they were going to cut me up and feed me to the cats.
Who was there?
A little firm up the archway.
Right, okay.
How old are these firm people? Are they similar to your age?
16. We were 16, 17. You know,
were you playing adults at this time, or would you say you're different to a modern day teenager who you look at in the street?
There's no difference. The only difference now is drugs have, you know, screwed up the discipline bit, if you like. And also, you know, how can I put it? They talk about respect, and I have to tell them when I go into schools and colleges, respect is when you respect someone else and they're pleased to see you. Mm-hmm. Respect ain't about you walk in a pub and someone's crapping themselves and they're terrified, so they're being nice to you.
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference. So if you want respect, you've got to earn it. Mm-hmm. And the only way you earn it is by treating ordinary people with respect. With villains, we all know each other, we know what we're capable of, and we know what each other's speciality is. So if I wanted a bent car, I know it was Ringy Motors. If I wanted a dodgy passport, I know it was in the printing game. And so you all had your little specialist fields, and sometimes we'd interlock. And we'd say, well, we need this off of you. And they go, well, look, we got a problem, we need you to do this for us.
What was your field?
Well, violence, really.
Right.
That's what
getting rid of people.
Yeah, and that's what you were known for.
Well, we was known for, you know, armed robbery and all that. But you know, I was very good at negotiations. Mm-hmm. You know, we could always make people see our way of thinking. We was very good.
You two have a lot in common.
He made them an offer they couldn't refuse.
You got it. Got it. You know, when we used to deal with them, I used to sit there, and it's in my book. I'm Not a Gangster, and we used to sit there, and I used to say to them, look, no cards under the table. When you deal with us, all the cards on the table. and I'd put a £1 coin on the table. Well, in them days, it was a £1 note on the table, and a bullet. And I say, if you work together with us and play it straight, we all learn lots of those. I find out you're dipping a till or you're fucking us about, you'll get one of those. Mm-hmm. Or there's a third option, you can get up and walk away now and we never met. So you choose what you want. But no, if you do it the wrong way, one of them's going in the back of your nut.
Yeah.
So it was that sort of thing. People understood each other. You know, we weren't.
Well, you're not fucking around at that point.
No. So, and also, I'd let the guns off, so they knew that, hold up, he don't mind pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
And then I got older people who thought, hold up a minute, he's a little bit, because I'm a young kid, remember? You know, I'm 16, I'm firing guns about the place, and they went, hold up, we need to educate him, get him in, and, you know, in case he does something crazy and fucks up all our business. Mm-hmm. So the older ones come to me and went, you know, do you want to go on a bit of work?
Maybe they've seen a bit of promise in you as well.
Yeah. Well, no, what it was, they was very slippery. I was taking a risk and they were taking, you know, oh, we'd do this, Bobby, you know, go around, see this geezer, we took a liberty. Well, it don't sound a lot now, but in them days, 500 quid was a lot of dough. The average man was earning 12 quid a week. And, like, if you collect it, we'll give you 10%.
It's classic Tony Montana and Scarface, isn't it? Like, you get the little bull to do all your work for you.
And we was used. I mean, basically, we was abused. We was taught violence, terrible violence, and they used that to earn money. And I sat down one day and I thought, hold up a minute, I'm doing all this, and you're driving about in a nice car. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, I don't need you. Yeah. I can do it on my own.
It's like me and you at Slash Football.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So what I'd done, I was working out and I went, no, we'd do it our own. So that's when I got my own little firm and put them together. And I went, this is what we're going to do. Because now I know how it works. They've educated me. So now I know how it works.
You use them.
Oh, yeah.
They thought they were using you, you were using them. I was
spinning because I didn't know how it worked. So I wanted to know how it worked, you know. And once I knew how it worked, I knew I didn't need them. Mm-hmm. And if they come up against me, I know I'd shoot them. So I was on a winner anyway. They had everything to lose. Yeah. So I had nothing.
Let's skip back to where we were. I feel like we've fast forwarded a little bit.
Okay.
You got this gun.
Yeah.
What's the next?
The next thing was, like, we did a few armed robberies, you know, and I was nicked.
Where are you robbing, sorry? Because I know that there are all...
Well, we tried to do, really balls up, we tried to do a post office van. Someone told me it was full of money, and what it was, they'd already delivered the money. So I've stuck up an empty van, right? No, I'll tell you the truth. Stuck up an empty van, mugged myself right off. So gone in there, and I went to, they gave me a detention centre at the age of 16 for carrying a possession of a sawn off shotgun and armed robbery. So I went to a senior detention centre where they totally beat the crap out, brutalised you, took terrible, now it'd be abuse, right? So they took you there and they beat you up. And I come out a bigger thug because I'm fit now. I'm down the gym, I'm working out.
Yeah, they used to make you train in that boss
25 laps around a football pitch and all that nonsense.
You're looking good.
They beat you as well, from what I've been told. My dad said if you are the last guy or whatever, they'd beat the crap out of the last guy.
And if they had someone who couldn't make it around the football pitch, you'd have to carry them.
Yeah, that's right.
Do all that crap, you know. It was all from this army mentality.
Very militant.
Yeah.
Was that something because what struck me was that actually you had quite a sharp sense of justice yourself to stop those policemen, and you resented the fact that you had to do it. So when you go there,
I resent anyone who's in authority who uses that authority to abuse others.
Right.
Even today, right. That's why I avoid judges and all that sort of thing, and government. But in them days, I thought, that ain't right. And I thought, if I could get you out of here on my own, I'd smash you to pieces with a baseball bat, you know. But they was in there, gangs of them, and they'd pick on a young, weak kid and take liberties, you know, really take liberties. And they wouldn't do it if they was outside with you. So that enraged me even more. I thought, you pick your people, because I hate bullies, you pick your people who you're going to terrorise, yeah? But that taught me that as well, that violence had a voice. I thought, so that's how the government control people. If you do what they'll want you to do, we can put you in a nasty prison where people are going to take liberties with you. And so when I come out of there, because I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, in them days I used to drink bitter lemon. And my dad went, well, you know, what are you going to do now? But by this time I'm angry now, because I've seen all what's gone on, you know. And I said, I'm going to put it back on them. He went, what? I went, I'm going to put it back on him. He went, what do you mean by that? I went, I'm going to run my own business and be a successful man. I've never told him what I had in mind, because he got paranoid over the gun. He went, we're not having none of that. I went, no, it's sweet. So I got the firm together when we got out, and I went, no, we do it properly. And we did it properly. And I looked at him, my dad, didn't realise he gave me a clue one day. He said to me, do you know old George over the road who runs the restaurant? I said, yeah. He said, them little sods round the corner. He said, keep putting bricks through his window. His insurance is going through the roof. He said, he's going to be out of business. Now, by this time, I'm coming up to 17 or 18. And I went, is that right? I said, how's it work, Dad? Because I love people educating me. I don't know it all. So all the education I've got has been off other people, right? Later on in life, I've read books and done degrees and all that sort of thing. But I was sitting there and like scheming. I was always a schemer. And I went, so how many times the bricks have to go through the window before the insurance goes out? He went, well, 3 times, and his insurance went out. I thought, lovely. So what I did, I went out, met the firm, I got a nice little earner. And you had all the Indian restaurants just open up and the Chinese and all that.
Is this East London?
This is all in Holloway Road, right. North London. And I had a bit of a bad rep then because people knew who I was and there was a firm. And so I got the kids. I went, here, Ed, do you want to arrange a couple of quid? And they went, yeah, but I said, what I want you to do, see them restaurants, go and throw bricks through their windows. I said, and have it on your toes. So when they done it the second time, I let them do it twice. When they done it the second time, I walked in, I went, it's terrible, what's happening to you? I said, we can stop
We can protect you.
We can stop this happening. I said, you're going to lose your insurance, but we can give you good insurance that it don't come through the window in the first place, because you've got people sitting there, because I was always reasonable with them. I said, you've got people sitting there, how would you feel if you're sitting there having your Chinese takeaway and a brick hits you in the head? I went, it's bad for business, bad for your reputation. So they went, well, how can you stop it? I said, well, put a little bit extra on the bill. When we come in, we eat free, right? And you give us a little, kickback, and we make sure it don't happen. And it started working like a treat. And then it happened, there was kids that was going to our tailors, and he used to do it on the never, like they could pay off each week, but once they got the suit, they was on their toes. Mm-hmm. So he had a big load of debts, and he told my dad, he said, Maury, and my dad told me. I went, really? So I went up there, I'll tell you what, I don't want no money off you, Maury, just give me a list of all your debts, where everyone's had your own and who they are, with their addresses. I said, and whatever I collect, I said, I'll take 25% off. But you make my suits one every 3 months for nothing. Deal done. So we've done that. Then his mate who had the shoe shop, done this. And the business built up. He was earning more money for nothing, And we used to go around and bash people up if they took liberties with them. So people see we was actually working for our money. We weren't just promising them. We was actually doing the business. And it was a business. And I saw nothing wrong in that, because I'm only dealing with rats who taking liberties with people. I'm not hurting innocent people, and they knew what they was doing. So that started up a good business. And then it got really heavy, and we had the triads.
Well, okay, that's a whole other level of serious, because really what you're doing is sort of a monetized neighbourhood watch.
Yeah.
And then the triads
I like that. Yeah.
A monetized neighbourhood watch.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good expression.
If anyone can make a T-shirt just says monetized neighbourhood watch, I feel like we can make that into a real thing.
I'm not a gangster.
I'm a monetized neighbourhood watch.
And also, what's really good about it, people were happy to see you. Yeah. Because like if there was liberties taken, like there was in the fish and chip shop. I took that very personal, because first off we had to deal with the triads. I mean, I never get it. He made me laugh when I got it, because he was expecting someone like his size, right? So he sent this message down, this Chinaman, and he said, I want to see Bobby Cummines. And so Frank came in to me, he went, got a Chinaman wants to see you. He said, they look like an heavy little firm. Well, I know they're from the Chinatown, Shaftesbury Avenue, that little mob. We've never dealt with them.
Did you know anything about them at that point?
I'd heard about them, because when I got done for the murder, the manslaughter, right, I went to prison, so I met the triads in there who was done for a load of heroin, and they were the tongue in there and all, and then you had the mafia in there, they was done for a £15 million bond swindle, and so we all ate together, and prison is the best place for networking. Right?
It's like, that was the social media for you back in the day.
Yeah, so what you're looking at, and this used to make me laugh about London gangs. And Charlie Richardson told me, he said, you know where they're all going wrong? I went, I'll tell you where they're going wrong. This was when we was banged up, because he was my best friend, Charlie. He was the one who got me out of crime.
Charlie, for those who don't know, was notorious, yeah.
Well, they called him gang boss of the torture gang in South London. He was my best friend. I read the eulogy at his funeral. And he was really a beautiful man, very educated, where the twins weren't. Twins were thick, right?
But that's basically the way it's been described to me before. Charlie was the brain, wasn't he?
He was doing long firms and all that before anyone knew about it. I mean, they even copied it and took it to America. So anyway, these Chinamen come down, and I'd already done 2 Turkish geezers for getting a girl on heroin and trying to get her on the game. And they were just straight people. They worked in a fish and chip shop. We knew them from kids, and my mum and dad used to go there.
So you say done, you already done them. Do you mean you made them disappear, sort of thing?
Well, they disappeared. They were, what happened was, accordingly to everyone, that I went in there with a sawn off, I had rock salt in one barrel, buckshot, and buckshot in the other. Walked into their little lockup where they fix cars. The one who was under the car, I shot him through the thigh. Walked into the office, stuck the hot gun to his brother's head, and went, if you ain't off the manor in 24 hours, I'm going to put it through your nut. Now, this is what was said, but they was gone in 24 hours.
Well then, that's handy, isn't it?
And people said, I mean, the standing joke was, when I went in the nightclub a couple of days later, because I didn't, all my firm drunk, but I didn't drink, and there was a funny guy in there. He was a cheeky sod, but I loved him because he had a good sense of humour and a very good driver, absolutely brilliant getaway driver. And he went, all right, Bob. I went, all right, Alan. He went, we heard the Turks are gone. I went, yeah, so have I, you know. He went, we heard you done it for a pack of fish and chips. What you would have done if they give you a pickled onion? Everyone burst out laughing. And I went, don't, you know, be careful. And we had a little laugh over it, you know. And but we cleared it up. But when the Chinaman come down, that was a different ball game. They pulled up in 2 cars, and I knew who they were because they said they're saying something about triads. I went, this is heavy. It's not like the gangs where we've bashed each other on and cut each other on. You know, these firm are nasty bits of work. I said, get the guns out. I said, and we go and see them. So we met them at Ivory Corner. Now you've got to imagine this. It was like something from the 60s. All these Chinamen got out, and I'm sitting in an old Vauxhall because we wanted one that if I had to shoot somebody, we could crush it up. I never drove a nice car to a shooting. and I'm looking at him and I thought, I can see he's got something under his coat. I didn't worry because I've got a sawn off under mine. So I got it, and this is true, bro, right? You know them pilot glasses, right? He's got tinted pilot glasses on. He's got a beige overcoat over his shoulders. And I couldn't take him serious. I started laughing, right? It was something from like a 60s gangster movie. And I got out, and he went, oh, I went, I'm Bobby Cummines. And he looked me up, quite surprised. And he went, we're coming on here, we're going to sell heroin, right? I went, you think so? He went, yeah, that's what we're going to do, but we give you some money. I went, you're not selling that shit on my manor. I went, we don't have it on my manor, right? And he opened up his coat and he's pulled out an axe.
Wow. And
he went, we chop people up. I went, is that right? Flung back the coat, pulled out the sawn. I went, I'll blow your fucking head off. I went, how about that? I went, now get back to Gerrard Street or wherever you come from. I went, you come here again, I'm going to shoot you, right? And everyone's going, oh. I went, no, I will shoot you, I will blow your face off. I went, now get in your car and go, I'm not a good boy. So they've gone. Now my firm's gone, it's caused a war now, we've got it really on us. They never come back. Never come back. So that was sorted. But then I got a bit...
You got lucky there a bit, didn't you?
Phew, not many. I mean, if they come back, but it's been full-scale war, wasn't it?
So at this point, when you're pulling the gun on this guy,
I would have shot him.
Yeah, I know you. And you'd obviously...
don't doubt
you'd already shot people.
Yeah.
Had you killed anyone, Bill, at this point?
Yeah, I'd done the killing. That, you know, people say I've done a lot, but I tell you what, if someone called flew in that manner, it would have been me who given it. It got really out of proportion.
Right.
You know,
all right. So once people give that reputation to you, you get the credit for everything.
Everything the same. If someone got carved up, Bobby Cummines and that firm done it. If he got hit by a car, even a road traffic accident, they've arranged it.
Which sort of helps, but also hinders you in a way because
it does because the people, the old Bill were looking at you, but then the old Bill were weighing it up. Right. I mean, they'd walk in a pub and we'd be sitting there, and something like might terrible have happened, like a child being abused, or you know, someone's a spate of robberies on old people's homes where they've been beaten, and they'd sit next to us in the pub and be talking about it, and they go, you know, we think we're going to have to bring the heavy mob in to sort out this area. It's getting too high on crime rate. Well, that weren't in our interest. Even if you was a kiter, you was doing, you know, selling bank gear or bouncing checks, we didn't want no one messing up the business. So it was in our interest to find out who was doing it, educate them in the back of a van, and then let it go away.
And it was in their business as well, in a way, wasn't it?
Of course.
Because you're doing a lot of the dirty work.
Why do you think they sat in the pub? And they knew what we was doing. So, you know, there was a little bit, and they let us get away with that
That's sort of a good relationship in a way.
Not really. I mean, they used to walk in and go, "Hello, Mr. Cummins." And I used to go, "Yes, hello." And they used to go, "We'll get you. I'm going to put you away for 30 years. And I went, "You got me on one bank, and I got not guilty in the Old Bailey because I'm an innocent man. I don't do nothing. I'm a straight goer. You know, I'm working a pine strip. We had a good front pine stripping factory and all that."
Yeah.
And I said, "You know, I don't know."
Front.
I said, why don't you leave us alone? We're just trying to earn a crust." And he went, "Yeah, we know you earn it." Right, so anyway.
So that was your Genco, basically.
Yeah, you know, and I used to look after the old people in the pub every Sunday. My pal who ran the butcher shop, like, it come to Saturday night, and I used to go in and say, "What you got over?" And we used to get the meat over. Jimmy Cardew, the boxer, had the fruit stalls. So what he had over, so we make up a little parcel, carry a bag for all the elderly people. We used to buy them their first drink in the pub. No one took liberties, you know. If they wanted a little short, they could have a little short, but we'd buy them their first drink. And I mean, they even said that, the Old Bailey. They said, "You know, we know he was a naughty boy, but he weren't a bad boy," you know. And I always treated people with respect. You know, I did violence for a living. I was brought up properly. I didn't do bad manners, you know, and I don't like people with bad manners, you know. There's no need for it. And that's why, you know, we've got the reputation of we're serious, but we're not rude people.
It feels like the difference between today's generation and that generation is like you had class. You know what I mean? You had a bit of class about you.
You know, we always dressed nice. Yeah. I mean, even when I went on armed robberies or to
do
the business, I always wore a suit. You know, and we
still
all
getting from the same guy.
No, he's dead, unfortunately,
God bless him.
And nothing to do with me, right? But we used to go, you know, we used to go there. We always dressed smart. It used to be funny because you'd walk in a pub, or it was mostly pubs. Walked in a pub with your girlfriend or your wife, and the men would all go one side, and the girls all went the other side, talking about earrings and God knows what else they talked about. And all the guys were talking about villainy, like someone come in and go, like, "I've got these lovely fur coats I've had out of the back of a lorry." So it would be like trading sessions.
Sort of Goodfellas-esque, that, isn't it? Reminds me of the movie. One thing we haven't really covered, and we don't need any specifics, but the first time you killed a guy,
allegedly
killed him.
Yeah. I mean, for most people, like for me personally, if I was to ever kill someone, it would happen probably in a street fight. Most likely, it would be a rage, it would be temper, and it would be one of those where you start punching someone and you just can't stop until when you start out of it.
It's brown bread.
So
like a bin.
And then afterwards, you know, the guilt and the emotion and all of that comes about, and for me, someone who isn't wanting to do that and isn't considering a career in that anytime soon, it would probably fuck me up for quite a while. How did you deal with that?
The only time, I always prided myself on clean bits of work. Whatever I'd done, it was cleaned. Right. It was cleaned properly, and so innocent people didn't get hurt. And the one thing I have to live with for the rest of my life was a robbery that went wrong and someone choked on a gag and died. Now that was an innocent person, he wasn't a villain. When we was having our gang warfares, cutting each other and shooting each other, and some people died, you know, didn't matter. It wasn't personal, never personal. You was paid to do it, or you know, or you'd done it.
So you viewed it as similar to the way a soldier would go into war, sort of thing. In your mind, you treat it as a profession.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah. But also, you know, what I say to these young kids today: if once you pick up that, and you're known to pick up that, once you go out with a tool, when people come looking for you, they come looking for you for a tool, and they're going to come with you with a tool, and you're 33 times more likely to be a victim of violent crime than a kid that don't carry one. I mean, I've had bullets I've been shot. They tried to assassinate me 3 times, driving along with blacked out, you know, the lights off the car and firing it through the window and all that game. And like, there's loads of rumours put about me, like that someone got shot through a letterbox because he took a shot at me. You know, 3 o'clock in the morning, the doorbell rung as he come down the stairs and thing. Someone stuck a gun through the letterbox and shot him in the thigh. You know, but straight away, because he took a shot at me, I'm automatically the guy who done it.
Yeah.
Right. When you get shot, please me, it makes your eyes water. Right. It hurts, and so, you know, if people pay you to do it, and the reason people pay you to do violence is because what they're asking you for, and this is where a lot of people didn't get it, they're asking you to do their jail sentence because they ain't got the bottle to do it themselves. So if they go to me, shoot him, I'm going to think, right, if I shoot you, if I don't kill you, if I shoot you, I'm looking at, with my reputation now, probably lifed off, but in them days I'd be looking at 15 years. How much could I earn in 15 years, right? Even with remission. So to me, everything was business. And I didn't feel nothing about it.
I watched one of your interviews.
Yeah.
And one thing I found really interesting was the way you said that they would dehumanise the target and say they wouldn't describe them as a man with a wife and kids. They'd say we've got a rat.
If you thought about people with family and wives and kids and grandmothers and all that, you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right. So what they do, quite simply, they go, you're anaesthetised to violence anyway. You've done that many of it. It don't matter.
You got to sleep every night. You don't lay awake thinking about this.
You once you do one, half a dozen ain't too many. I'll put it to you that way. All right. So it don't matter whether you're cutting them, shooting them, or whatever you're doing. If you're that type of person, all right. So when they come and do it, now it normally comes, the person won't come themselves. It normally comes through someone else who knows you because they never meet you, all right? A person who knows them. Now you've probably known that person for 3 generations in that family, and you know that if they get nicked, they're not going to roll over on you, all right? So you trust that person. So they go like, this guy shot in the leg. Now, don't matter if I liked him or didn't like him. If the money was right, I'm going to shoot him. Mm-hmm. But if I started thinking about he's got a wife, he's had kids, I'm going to think about that and I wouldn't be able to do it. So what they do, they dehumanise that person. They say, look, we've got a rat here. So when you've got a rat, you're not getting rid of a person or hurting a person. What you're getting rid of is vermin, and that's how you look at it. And that's the only way you can do it.
One thing that strikes me about that is you don't know, do you know the reason that person wants that person shot in the leg? Does that matter to you? Because surely you have your own interest in that.
No. You find out what that person's done. When you're, like if you're a hitman, you watch that person, you basically stalk them, what they do, where they go, where they drink, who their pals are, because you don't want to be talking to one of their pals who's going to mark their card.
Right.
So, and then you find a place where you isolate them, and then you can do the execution or hit, as people call it, if you're that type of person. Or if it's a kneecap job, you target them. So you know exactly what time, where they go, what they're doing. I mean, some of them, we even went so far, if they're going to really whack you, they'll find out your medical records. Has he got diabetes? Because you can shoot them up with insulin. Or is he a junkie? So you can make it look like an accident. Right. The better if you can make it look like an accident, no one's screaming.
Yeah, I've seen you on a documentary. Yeah. I think it might have been used, a clip of you might have used in the Jill Dando
that's right.
talk. And I found it interesting because you were talking about how you can make a killing look different to what the reality is.
There's 2 types. There's one that you do that's a public shooting, where you're sending a message out to a firm, a load of people, right? And there's also the execution.
By public, you mean just in broad daylight?
In broad daylight,
yeah.
Right? You drive by with a car, boom, and you're gone. Or a motorcycle, because it's easier on a motorcycle if you're that weight. Yeah. I don't like motorcycles. Your legs are too big and you get rammed by a car and lose a leg. So I always liked more solid lumps of metal around me. But you look at it and you think, right, what is it? So if it's a public one, it's very rare you're going to kill someone in public. You've got to be a lunatic. Right, but you could do like shooting in the leg or jump out with hatchets and go to work with them with an hatchet, as long as you didn't kill them, put them in the intensive care for a little while and, give them time to think it over, but then you can have the one that, if you like, make it look innocent or do it publicly where you've got to do an execution. And like Kirchhoff, when he got done with the umbrella, the Russians were brilliant, and they are brilliant at poisons, right? So different people have different methods. But if you're going into that world, what you've got to do is you've got to be able to change your modus operandi. So if you're known for using a blade, you've got to learn how to use a gun. And if you're knowing about a gun, you've got to learn how to use poisons. And you've got to know how to make bombs. Now, the greatest place to learn all that is in maximum security prison, because you're in there with terrorists and they know how to make bombs. Right, and you're in there with drug dealers who will tell you a lethal overdose or whatever. So if you're that way orientated, you've got the network to be able to do that. But the thing is, you've got to live with that. and what you've got to live with. You might be the most popular person in the crowd, because you're on the firm, you're one of the firm, but you're the loneliest guy in the world because you don't know if someone's your friend or if they're your enemy, whether they're plotting up to have you done.
You don't know why they're around you.
No, because you might have done too many and someone thinks he's a liability now, he's got to go. So you've got to take that into account. Also, there's reward money, right? If you've done banks and that sort of thing, where his girlfriend says, oh, he looks lovely, and he's always smart in his suit, they've always got money. He gets the ump, picks up the phone and clips the reward. So you're watching your own people, you're watching the old Bill, and the odd nutter who might think, well, if I shoot him, I'll get a good reputation, or stab him. So it's a nightmare world, and other people go to sleep with a dream under their pillow. I went to sleep with a gun under mine, and you had to worry about petrol bombs coming through your windows, and it weren't. So when people write these stories about how glamorous it was. And I hate people when they become experts, like you get these social workers and psychologists and all this shit that they talk about, right? And I think, you read a book about my life, right? And then you become an expert on it. If you want to become an expert on it, come and live my life and do the amount of bird I've done, 13 years, in maximum securities, where people are getting stabbed to death over an onion, because it makes me like, prison's not an holiday camp. Fuck knows what holiday camps they go to, but where I went, they were slashing their wrist, hanging there, so helping getting stabbed to death. So it ain't a nice place. And also about the craze, you're living in your toilet in a cell, right? You're living next to a toilet. Nothing glamorous in that, and it don't smell like Chanel, right? You're living in your carsy.
It starts with a
Yeah, you've got it in one, right? So you're in there, and you're surrounded by people, especially in maximum security, like Parkhurst was Britain's Alcatraz, surrounded by water, and all the most dangerous was put in there. So you're sitting there, and everyone's a potential killer. So it was the most politest place I ever was in my life, because if you forgot to say good morning to someone, they'd get paranoid, think you're plotting up on them, and then they'd plot up on you. And the P in prison stood for paranoia, right? Everyone paranoid.
Yeah. When you were describing your lifestyle there, about how you didn't know what people were going to do, and obviously the closest, don't get me wrong, I know my dad was mixed up in a lot of shit and he ended up in prison, but I didn't live that life. But I do. You watch the TV series like The Sopranos, for example, and you see like Tony Soprano and people like that, and how paranoid they seem to be getting, and you can only imagine, really.
I tell you, there was one come out and it was really close home, and I did the thing for an Australian, Spark TV. I had to view the film, the Pink Panther,
right?
Yeah, because they was doing robberies all over, still are, right? Doing it all over the place. And they went, how real is it, Bobby? And I'll tell you what, forget, I don't know, Ocean's 11, and that was near enough, Ocean's 11, but forget, Lock, Stock and...
Two Smoking Barrels and all that.
Absolutely. And, I'll tell you what, I was sitting there on the Saturday laughing my head off. It's comedy series.
Yeah, it's a farce in a way.
I thought to myself, are you taking a piss or what, And I was rolling about, and my wife went, what are you laughing about? I went, if only it was like that. I said, no. And she went, exactly what you said. She said, how do you feel when you did that sort of thing for a living? Yeah. I said, to be honest with you, I didn't feel nothing. I'm not a psychopath. I couldn't allow myself to feel anything. Otherwise, I would have put one in my own head.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I've met some people who've done some pretty bad things to people in my life. Yeah. And one thing I've learned is it's amazing what people can convince themselves of or allow themselves to live with in order for self-preservation. Yeah. And that's not a dig. It's just you have to do that in order to get through these things.
All you've got to look at is Nazi Germany, then people in death camps. Now, they were postmen, they were milkmen, they were bricklayers, and then butchering and murdering people in the most horrendous ways.
By the thousands.
And coming out, going home every night and sitting down having their dinner.
Yeah.
You can condition anyone, because don't forget, I had to condition my own firm, because a lot of them were straight goers. And when I got them in there, they didn't mind a bit of violence, but when we was getting into the organised bit, you had to educate them, like, if we're going on a bit of work, you can't take a drink, we lock up in an hotel, no drugs, no drink, I wouldn't work with them. And so you had to, if you like, very much like a paedophile grooms a child, we're grooming people into a profession. And that profession is what's going to earn them money, but it's also the profession that could get them killed. And what we used to say, old saying I used to say to them, because they used to go, money and all that. I used to say, don't forget this. One day we're going to get nicked. Law of averages, we've got to get nicked because they ain't going to let us take too many liberties. They're going to come on us and we're all going to get nicked. So if you eat the meal, you pick up the bill. So don't go crying when you get nicked. So hide your money away, do it right, invest it somewhere. Don't just drive around in flash cars, spunking it up the wall, because when you're sitting in that cell and you say to your pals outside, look after my old woman, they really gonna, and because you're going to wait for 15 years.
So that's one thing I find quite interesting is you were a boss of your own crew.
Yeah.
How psychologically did you find that you had to manipulate people and or was it just as simple as intimidation with these guys?
No. They subscribed to it. What I would do, Brian, I would tell them exactly. I never lie to them. You tell one lie, you've got to tell 1,000 to cover that one, and you get sussed out and they won't have no faith in you. So you tell them exactly what it's about, what the outcomes can be, right? What the rewards are, what the downside. It's like SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So you go through a SWOT analysis with them of the business, right? Then if they want to subscribe to it, they can't say, I didn't know, you didn't tell me.
Yeah.
All right?
No surprises.
And also, what we did is when other firms didn't do it, but I made sure I'd done it, every time we earned money, I split it up equal. So there was no jealousy. No one could say, he got more than me, he got more, get a bad taste in them out and shop you. Mm-hmm. So they all got the same. So when we got the bird, I got the most, being head of the firm. And that's where I got the really, with the twins, with the Krays. Because if you're the governor, we had an old saying, I made an old saying, better one go than all you go. So if it comes on top, I take it, you get out there and earn money and look after me while I'm away. All right? That was my philosophy in my head. Yeah. But when they got nicked, they was trying to get people to take the rap for them. We'd take the fraud, you take the murders. If you're you're running a firm, the buck stops here, right? And that's where you should be.
In terms of the timeline here, when you're dealing with the triads and all of that, how old would you say you would have been at that point?
I was in my 20s.
All right. And how long was it before you did get locked up?
Well, I got the 7.5 for the manslaughter, went away, I come out.
Was that not far after that, the triad situation?
Yeah.
All right.
I come out of there.
Was that when you met the Krays?
No, the second time I met the Krays. I met the Krays when I was 16 in the Old Bailey. They was up for the murders and I was up for the armed robbery with A Sawn Off.
How old were they at that point?
They were in their 30s.
They were in their prime sort of thing.
And
can you tell us a little bit about, because I know people, there's a mystique about the Krays, there's something about them, I guess it's the fact that they're twins and they were gangsters and all that, but what were they like?
Very well dressed, even in the Old Bailey, I didn't know who they was at first, and they come out their cells because they was all up on trial for the murders and all that, and we was in the Old Bailey, the Old Bailey, and it was Ronnie Cray went to me, what are you doing here? I went, armed robbery. He went, what? I went with A Sawn Off. And he went, you cheeky little bastard. He went, we'd probably be seeing a lot of you. And I went, you probably will, right? Forgot about it. And the copper, the screws on the landing, he went, that is? He said, that's the Kray twins. You hear the names, but I'd never met them. I didn't know nothing about. But one thing I will give them, and I will never let anyone take it away from them. Ronnie was in Somerset House 3 because he was off his rocker. He was not a well boy. Reggie was in Parkhurst with us. But when my mum got leukemia, they'd sent her bouquets of flowers. They had a thing about mums. They looked after, your mum while you was away. If someone like a family was having an hard time, they'd put a few quid out. But they never earned no money as villains, really. They was going out every night trying to earn a few quid, where Charlie Richardson were fortunes. I mean, he had mines in South Africa, and that's why they was jealous of Charlie, right? Because of the money. He had more money than anyone, and they was going to go out every night, basically robbing thieves as well. If you'd done an armed robbery, they'd come on the banner and go, like, we want a piece of that action. And I think they had a problem. Like, Ronnie was outwardly gay, right? Reggie was a closet. And was marrying people, never having sex with them, but marrying them for a front.
Yeah, that was the rumour about his missus, and there was a lot of strange rumours about her death as well.
Yeah, and no one to this day knows whether she did top herself or whether one of them done it. But, poor girl, she got mixed up in something totally out of her
She was
depth.
beautiful as well.
She was, but, it's hard work, because when you've got a girlfriend, like I had one, a really lovely girl, come from a really good family, and she didn't know what I'd done for a living. She just knew I dressed very well and had a lot of money, and I was very polite. Even Kate Adie, when she met me, she said he's a thorough gentleman, because I pulled chairs out and I opened doors for ladies. I'm not a rude person. And she said to me, she went, how do you earn your money? And I thought, shit, how do I explain to her, she went, because I want to take you and meet my mum and dad. She lived in Stoke Newington, right? Now, we was putting the arm on publicans over there, right? I was taking money off of them. And this is how it come on top. She got a wind of what we was up to. Because my poor sister was singing in the pub. She used to like sing for all the old girls. It's like family pubs. And I walked in there and it all went quiet. And my sister went, what's it all about? I went, it's all right. I said, I've just come to see the governor, and have a drink. Bit of lemon, cake in the envelope, it was quite nice. But she went, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I'm sort of like in banking. And she went, oh, you work in a bank? I went, often. Yeah. I said, yeah. And so, well, what are you going to say,
That's a fucking tough one, isn't it?
So I said, I'm in sort of like the banking business. So I don't know what she said to her parents, but the brother used to use the pubs, and the family name was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And he said to her, this family are gangsters. They're all gangsters, the family, And she went, no, he ain't. He works in a bank. He went, yeah, he does, He said, go out with him. And she come out with me. And she said to me, you don't pay for the meals. I said, we've got an account here. You have to live that life, she's a straight goer, and I really did like her. I didn't even touch her up, I liked her that much, she's a very respectful girl, and I showed respect. And when it went on, and I'd done the murder and that sort of thing, she thought, fucking hell, because that was all over the place. And then it come out, I'd come out there, and within 4 weeks of coming out, I'm nicked for Barclays Bank Swiss Cottage, right? I've got to not guilty on that, because I didn't do it,
Of course.
Right, and Bill really had the ump over that, that I got off with that one, and that's when I was targeted, I think. They thought, no, you're taking the piss now. And when they come after me, and this is what these kids don't understand, they're walking around, they're pulling guns out and waving them about. No. You've got to have such a low profile that, people don't know what you're doing. They can guess, but they don't know what you're doing, and the only people who know what you're doing are the people you work with. And this is what you say about the craze. There's lots of these people who are on the fringes, they hear a rumour, same as they did with me. If you believe half the crap that was said about me, I've wiped out half of North London. It's lunacy. But, the same as them. But what they did, they capitalised on it. And they, instead of putting down the myth, that's why they stayed in jail for 30 years, right? Because they started writing the books, they started glamorising it. And so what Home Secretary is going to release them. Not in a million years. The joke used to be in Parkers, if a guy was never getting out, they go, oh, when's he getting out? And they used to go to choose the art of the craze. Yeah. It was a standing joke, they're never getting out. So anyway, we're there, and this poor girl, she's looking, and it all comes on top. And when I got out, they went, you're going to get her back. Because she stuck, she wrote to me all the way through my birth, she was a good one. And I said, no. I said, I'm going to make them pay for this. They're going to pay. Because they come in with my parole, and they went, oh, we're putting, your parole thing. I went, come on, stuff it. And they went, well, I went, stuff it. I went, you don't think I want your little bit of paper when you keep an eye on me? I said, you're going to pay for this. I said, you're going to pay in cash. I went, you got where I'm coming from. So then I took the governor hostage in the maximum security, and they all thought I was a nutcase, right? Which,
You can see why.
You can see, they're making a good case.
Yeah, but then you look.
How did you take the governor hostage?
Well, people was being abused in prison, beaten up in the blocks, and now they was friends of mine. When you do jail with someone, this is what I'm saying. The only people who know what Charlie Richardson done, what the Krays done, what I done, with the people that either worked with you or the people who've done jail with you. Because when you're in jail, there's no secrets.
Yeah.
Right? you're living with each other 24/7, 52 days a week, and they know your strengths and weaknesses, and they know the truth about you. So the only people who can say that are the people who's done bird with you, or the people that's worked with you, and the people who are doing bird with you are very much like you anyway, so they ain't going to go around shooting their mouth off, because you could do it on them. So it's a very tight-knit community. So, you know, you're there, and you're thinking to yourself, right, I've got to get out here, I've got to do it. And so when you get out there, you've done all that bird, you know, and they can't go parole, and you go, fuck that. You know, I used to say to them, I'm not playing. And they used to go, oh, will you clean the land, or will you work over the mailbag shop? I used to go, fuck off. I'm in jail, what are you going to do? Put me in jail? I'm in the block, right? I took the governor hostage, deputy governor hostage. I've created more fucking riots and sit-downs in your jails, and you want me to sit in front of a parole board and going, I'm a good boy, really? You know, it's taking the piss out of the parole board as well, you know what I mean? Because they're looking at that file and they're going, this guy's totally insane, you know? When I used to exercise of the night, they used to, like when I was under lockdown, they used to have me walking around at the night time. The IRA used to get the same. Me walking around at the night time, and they used to have a screw on each corner and 2 dog handlers, and no one would talk to you. And then you'd go back to the block. Even the canteen, I couldn't go to the canteen. You sat right at what I want, and they'd go and get it from the canteen. And like me dinner, in case I attacked anyone. You know, it was really crazy.
When you got locked up, how did it feel when you... Because, I mean, surely you must have thought, this might be the last you see the outdoors, like.
Do you know, this is going to sound weird, right? And I'm not weird, but this is going to sound weird.
I mean, you're not normal.
Thanks a lot.
You're exceptional in a sense.
No, because you look at what I've done later in my life, right? Anything I do it properly, and I commit myself to it, right? But you know, when you're there and you're looking at it, I used to say, I'm not playing, and they go, oh, right, do this. And I've done the sit downs and wound everyone up, because if I went to a prison, the first thing I did, my utmost to disrupt it, right? So they all had aggravation, and so they come over and because I'm coming near to my end of the sentence, and they want to be nice to me now. Right, because they don't know, because I threw buckets of shit over them, everything, you know. So they want to.
Are they worried about what you might do when you get out?
Well, they're worried about what I'm going to do in there. I mean, if they go on with a black eye and they can go to their wives, yeah, we had a row with Reggie Kray or a group of bad villains, you know, it sounds romantic. But when you've had a bucket of shit thrown over you and no one's got to wash the clothes, it ain't too romantic. So that's why I used to do it with the shit, like loads of it, right over the landing, bounce on the wire and smother them in it. So they had to go on with that on them. So I wasn't very popular with them. And they knew it was me, but couldn't prove it because I was a bit cunning, because I used to, in them days, you had slop buckets. So I'd have 2 buckets. One we loaded up in the oven. I used to say to everyone, have a piss and shit in that, because I'm going to do it over the landing on them. And everyone hated them, so they wanted to do it. But when I took the governor hostage, people was getting abused badly, Brian, down the block, being beaten crap out of. And I pulled him, because people said to me, Bobby, what's going on out? You know, it's bang out of order. And I had a bit of a reputation for sit-downs and all that. So I said, I'll pull him when he comes in. So he's come on the wing. I went, here, come here, I want to speak to you. He went, I beg your pardon. I said, I want to speak to you. I said, come here. So he's come over, and I went, look, what's happening down that block? It's bang out of order. I went, and we want him back on the wing. I said, because it's got to stop. And he went to me, think yourself lucky, ain't you? I went, do what? He said, and I went, you fucking rat. And I grabbed him. There was no talk of hostage, right? There was no talk of hostage. I didn't say I'm taking him hostage, right? Everyone's gathered around, all the chaps, and an IRA geezer slipped a blade in my hand, right? So I've got a blade. He's seen the blade. He shouted at, he's taking me hostage. I think now I'm really in the shit, because you're getting the heavy mob coming with the shields. I thought, if I let him go, they're going to kill me. Oh, yeah. So I've stuck the blade to his throat. I went, look, you know my record. You know I've done one. Yes. I went, so half a dozen ain't too many. I went, I could do you. I said, now you're going to call these fucking animals off. I said, then we're going to sort this out. But I can't let go of him, because I know if I let go of him, I'm gone. So I'll bring him back to my cell, and it was electric locks in Albany, right? It was made for terrorism, that jail. Got him to the door, and I got the wedge, because I cut a little bit of line up out, and you put a wedge in the door. I turned him round, kicked him up the arse and shut the door, right, and wedged myself in. So that goes on for a couple of days, and I think they've all wiped their mouth over it. Took the wedge out the door. They must have been spying through the window on me. Well, I took the wedge out the door's come through and the screws lined all up. And I'm going on a lay down, And then when I come back, I'm in Parker's. Well, Parker's, they used to have abandoned old ball you enter here, you know. And I thought, fucking, I've really done it this time, right? And I didn't expect to be there with that mob. And I thought there were lunatics in here, because the only next stop from Parker's was Broadmoor, right? And
Broadmoor, for those who don't know, is like the worst of the worst.
It's
well, it's for the lunatics, wasn't it?
Of course it is. I mean, you've got people in here who think they're Napoleon, and some of them think they're Jesus Christ and might want to nail you up. I mean, it's that bad, you know. They're all on medication. I mean, even Reggie Cray, when he was in Parker's, he used to have a thing called Largactil. They call it liquid cosh, right? Others was getting little tots like that. He could drink half a cup for the guy.
Wow.
You know, and I looked like that and I thought, this burning his brain cells away, you know. But he was like a kid, not like a silly kid. He was into this thing, like he wanted a gang round him all the time, and they talked about setting up a mafia in England. And people was going, fucking do that. We're earning our own money. We didn't want to be involved in organised crime, our own organised crime, but this, he'd watch a film and he saw the films like Cosa Nostra and all that, and he wanted to do that for real. I mean, you've got to be off your rocker if you're thinking that. So anyway, it happened that we went through, one of my pals got stabbed to death over an onion, argument over an onion, cooking spaghetti bolognese, because we used to cook our own food, because we was always worried about what people was putting in our food. Because you can get a bag of sugar, you should have 2 bags. One you put on display, and one you'd hide if you took sugar in your tea. Because you'd get someone to grind a light bulb down, put the broken glass in the sugar, and it'd rip your stomach to pieces. So there's many ways to kill someone in jail, or like the IRA did with the governor. They got a 6-inch nail, nailed it down, soaked it in excrement, stabbed him. He thought he just got a little puncture wound, blood poisoning straight away, and he killed him. So there's many ways that if you want to take someone out, even in there, and you can't get away in there. Yeah. It's not as though you can jump in a car and drive up north or drive. No, you are locked in with serious psychopaths, and also some very clever people. So that's where the respect thing comes in. You're always nice to people.
How do you stay sane in that sort of environment? Because you sounds like you're quite a good read on the situation.
Right. Well, it was Charlie Richardson, and that's why I speak so highly of him. You know, he really had a brain, and he met. You know, you get lunatics in there talking about how you dispose of a body and all that sort of thing. And you can't hear that so much. Or the next job they're going to do when they get out, and you look at them and you're thinking, you're 60 years of age, you ain't got another life sentence, a sentence in you. You'd be lucky if you get out of here and you've got a Zimmer frame. So you've got to be realistic. It's a nasty little bit of business.
Some people just need that sort of
reality.
Imagination.
Yeah. So you're sitting there and he's talking all about mining. We're talking about philosophy, and he went to me, "You got a brain." He went, "What are you doing? You got a brain." He went, "A lot of these in here can't help themselves. You know, we got people in there who've murdered their kids, all sorts of crazy people in there." He said, "You got a brain." He went, "Why don't you use the brain?" He said, "Because if you go out here and do what you're doing again, 3 ways you're going to end up." He said, "Either the old bill going to shoot you dead, another firm going to shoot you dead, or you're going to do life imprisonment and never come out." He said, "But if you do the education, you can run a business." So I got into the Open University. Right, started studying them. Best thing. It was education that liberated me from crime, because I thought I can earn money straight, you know. And when I went in to see the psychiatrist, and he said, "I think you're one of the most dangerous men in Britain." He said, "And you've got an antisocial behaviour order and all these labels." And I thought, yeah, and you're the same guy who was caught in Parkhurst Woods running around naked with your poodle, right, and fucking diagnosed yourself as like having a breakdown. And he was meeting people like the Ripper, Brady, all that firm. Yeah. Right? Fucking nut, he's a fruitcake, the guy, right? Yeah. And it was all over a Mars bar anyway. He had a Mars bar and an apple on the table. And he went there and I thought it was a test, you know. And I thought to myself, being like too much of a thinker, I thought, if I eat the Mars bar, it's sweet and it's all that, right? But the apple is the Garden of Eden, right? And he's seeing if I'm Satan, right? So I thought I'll eat the Mars bar. I didn't know it was his fucking lunch, right? No. He's come in, he's gone, "What are you doing? Just socio-psychopath. Hit the bell and I'm carted off." And all that, like, on the record. And it stayed with me all through my sentence, because I ate fucking Mars bar. You know, it was a crazy well, please believe me. And I was surrounded by lunatics. It must have affected me badly. It made me antisocial and all. Right? But you sit there and you look what's going on. So you go into the Open University, and I really loved it. I got the learning bug, and I was talking to Charlie more and more. And I went, this is good. And we talk about philosophy, sociology, psychology. That's what I was doing it in. But he'd give me books, and he used to have an habit. He used to cut cuttings out of paper, and it'd be like the stocks and shares and all that. He didn't only do it to me, he'd done it to a couple of other people who thought had a brain. And we used to have what we call a loon night. And me and him, and everyone thought me and him was a bit weird, a bit sick, right? Because we got the really bizarre nutters in. And we used to get them in, give them a cup of tea and get them to tell us about their crimes. And I said to Charlie, I went, this fucking sick bastard. And he used to go...
That was, can I just say it, everyone watching, when people sit and watch like crime documentaries now on Netflix,
they're going
that
through,
was his Netflix.
They're going through going, do you want to do stairs
should we try the child killers tonight, or should we go for the people who killed their own mother?
Let's go for episode 5 of the child killers. Bring him back in.
But there was one, and they used to come in, and Charlie, because he knew them all, he'd been in there longer than me, and he used to go, you've got to listen to this one.
Right, it's like putting a tape in the tape player and just playing it back.
He'd bring them in.
I love that, you've got to listen to this one.
And he'd go, tell Bobby about your really sad story, what's it? And the most horrific thing, like someone's like chopped their mother up and tried to eat them, so really some bizarre stuff. And there was ones that, and I thought, first off, I thought he was winding me up. And we got this one come in, and he went, he said he needs to borrow a couple of quid, because I was the banker, I used to lend the money out in there. And he said, tell Bobby about what happened to you last night. So I went, last night? What's happened last night? He went, well, you've got to lend him a £5. He said, because they want to go and get a bit of puff, because there's all that. So I said, well, I don't know shit what he does, but I want my 10% interest back, because we used to buy the canteens off him, so we lived well. And he's coming, this geezer, and this is, great. He said, I'm sitting there with a cup of tea, right, with Charlie at the other end of the table, and this lunatic and his mate there, and he went, an angel come in my cell. I went, do what? He went, an angel came in our cell. I said, what you want? I said, you taking it? He went, no. I said, well, what's this angel look like then? He said, he had big wings, had bronze feet and fire coming out of them. I went, you're taking a piss, ain't you? I said, you're having a laugh with me or what? And I'm getting a bit angry, like I think he's coming in to come me out of a fire. The other lunatic next to me went, no, he ain't, because I saw it as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
And I went, give me his £5. And Charlie went, that ain't the best one, we've got another one coming. And we used to do it on a Thursday night, because it was boring Thursday. So we used to have Loon Night on a Thursday night, we'd have something to eat, and we'd have the entertainment value.
Did they know it was called Loon Night?
No, that was me and Charlie.
Yeah, right.
Joke. They used to think that...
5 o'clock every Thursday.
He used to say, Bobby's studying psychology and sociology, so he'd like to know all the ins and outs. Right. Some of them even booked their depths in, where they chop people up and put an head in a basket.
Make a deck.
Yeah.
We should get them to do our portfolio.
I tell you, it was unbelievable. And so that sort of thing happened. And then when I got out of prison, first I went to, because before you come out of maximum security, you go into a BCAT, and so they phase you out slowly, because you've done a lot of birds, and they think you're a little bit nuts anyway. Right? So they send you to these, and I got a job as an education orderly. So basically I sat in there, because I'd already caused a riot in this prison, so they didn't want no more of it. So they gave me a nice little job where I could sit over in education, watch all the television and read me books, which suited me. And I married the prison librarian.
Oh, is that who you're with now?
No, I'm with my Japanese wife. Now, this is my first wife, right?
Oh, wow. So
I married the prison librarian. So she said...
What was she like?
Oh, she's a beautiful person. I couldn't say a bad word against her. What happened was we got together. She loved my poetry, because I write a lot of poetry, and that's how I kept my mind
romantic.
Going.
See, I didn't have you down for that, mate.
A lot of it was what was happening around me. Right. But I also am a romantic.
Loon Night Thursday. Yeah. So this one I call.
Yeah. Crazy, sit in a cell.
So we sit there, and I come out, and it was either go back to London and go back out. They pulled the car up, I had the Rolls Royce and all that.
Yeah.
And there she was outside the door with a little flower dress on, come and live in Kent. And I thought, I'd already had it in my head, I'd had enough. Because I thought, if I go out there and I've got to either go to war with people and go back in there, or get shot or whatever, what Charlie said, or maybe I could do it. So I went with her, and I tried to get jobs. I mean, I was packing shelves in Tesco's for night time. I'm
Yeah,
really
I read
trying
that,
to,
mate. I
trying
couldn't
to
believe
go,
it after the life you'd had.
Yeah,
Gone from that to packing shelves.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, because one, we got a baby on the way, so I thought no kid of mine is ever going to sit in a visiting room looking at me over there. No, that ain't going to happen in my life.
Was that your first child?
Yeah.
It's amazing what you know, having a baby on the way can do for a man, isn't it?
It was the most beautiful thing that happened in my life. You know, this little fat baby, and I loved it. Right? And everywhere, I wouldn't let no one hold her. I was really over the top possessive. I used to go, no, I'll carry her for miles, you know. And sport her rotten, really, but worked hard. Then I had this mug in Tesco's following me around, like with the, you know, the price guns. And you know, you've got a 19-year-old kid with a plastic wallet, and he thinks he's like running the show. He thinks he's like Donald Trump.
Yeah, I remember when I worked in a Morrison's when I was a kid, and there was like, obviously I was like 16, and there was 25-year-olds who were like career heads, and their managers. We're management. I'm like. No offence or nothing, anyone who works, but I'm like, you're a manager at Morrison's. You're nothing special. Calm the fuck down. You know what I mean? Just chill. Everything's gonna be put on the shelves. Don't worry about it.
That's their own little firm, though, isn't it? Tesco's have got the firm. Morrison's got a little firm.
We're gonna do those.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna do those.
We're gonna have them.
Those guys in that fucking Tesco Express. I'll have them. Do you know what I mean? Our tomatoes are way cheaper.
And what he said to me, he went, the price gun, you know. And I noticed, like, I'm a small guy. He's giving me the big dog food, all the little birds in there, he's giving them like the crisp, giving me the dog food and all the heavy. And he come round and like showing off in front of the girls, and he went, now he knows nothing about me because I've got dodgy CVs because I made them up myself so I could get a job, because I tried getting it straight. I had to tell lies to get a straight job.
You have no idea
so
who you are.
opened up loads of these building companies that had gone defunct. Told the people I worked for them, and so when they sent the mail out, it was redirected to me because my pals used to get in post on me, and I'd write myself a brilliant CV, and I've got the interviews.
Incredible reference.
Amazing reference.
So I'm working there with this mug, £100 a week I'm earning, right? Stacking this dog food. So I'm not the happiest bunny in the world, but I've got a beautiful daughter, a lovely wife. So
I'm trying to do the right thing.
I've wiped my mouth that many times, my lips nearly worn out, right? So I'm there like that, and he's come round he went, you've got to learn how to use a price gun properly. I thought, fucking price gun, I could show you how to show you with the real thing. Anyway, it went a little bit too far.
The sawn off.
Right?
Get the sawn off price gun.
So it goes a little bit too far. It almost becomes like a little bit of bullying. So he's walking round, and he's gone out in the back warehouse where they had the freezer. And I thought, fuck you, I'm going to put you in your place. So I've gone out there and I've got him in the freezer, right? And I went, you ever fuck with me? I said, see them hooks there? I'll hang you up there and I'll cut your ass with a butcher's boning knife. I went, and I'll cut your eyes out while you're looking at me. Now you know where I'm coming from, all right? Now fucking get off my back, right? And then I left him. Next thing I know, all these security guards, he's run up in his office, locked himself in, all these security guards come. If I don't leave the premises, they're going to call the old bill. Now I've only been out a little while, you know, I've got a baby. So I've had to leave the premises, gone home to my wife with my little packed lunch. And she went, you're home early. I said, I think I got the sack. She went, what happened? I went, a dispute at work, right? Couldn't break her heart, wasn't it? So,
dispute.
Right? So
I'll put you on that hook,
right?
and I'll cut your eyes out while you look at me.
Right. So you know, that brought back the old bad feeling in me. You know what I mean? And I thought, I'm trying to go straight. I'm on a mug job, and I'm being intimidated by a mug, right? So I thought, no, I've got to get a better job than this. So I needed to get myself some more better references. So I've done that again, right? And I wound up getting some good jobs. And in the end, I wound up being a purchasing manager for Van Giel Systems, one of the biggest Dutch companies over here.
You going by the name Bobby Cummines?
Yeah.
All right.
So when I get there, they go, no, in the things, it's Robert Cummins. I never used Bobby Cummins because I knew now that they had this bloody internet thing where you can check people out. The last thing I wanted them to do was someone think, oh, Bobby's a nice guy, we'd type his name in there and that come up. No, that wasn't going to happen. So I get these nice jobs, and then it was a probation officer come to me and said, Bobby, you know, you've got powerful jobs now and you're running your own companies, because I was running different companies at the time. My own companies, all legal. Wouldn't touch anything bank because of my little girl. So I'm running that, and he said, will you volunteer to help young kids in trouble because you've been there, right? And he was my probation officer, well, the parole officer in the nick, the last nick I got from. And me and him got on really well. He was there when my mum died, right? So, and he was kind to me. So, you know, I don't forget kindness, you know. So anyway, I do this volunteer thing for SOVA, Associate Voluntary Associates, and I get Volunteer of the Year. And I said, you give me the ones that no one else can handle. All right.
So you spoke to the real kids with issues.
The kids
listen.
that I looked at them, and they're beautiful kids, you know, but people filled their head full of nonsense, and they was reading these books and thinking crime was great. And so I told them the truth, bro, you know. I said, it ain't that great. If it was any good, please believe me, I'd still be doing it, and no, I'm not, right? So I got on well there. Then I thought more about it, and it played on my head, you know. And I'm hearing people talking to mums where their kids are going to, you know, going away to young offenders institutes and all that. And I started up a charity, me and my mate, with £6 in my garage, and we turned it into a national charity. And it worked well. I was going into schools, colleges.
Is that Midas?
No, that was Unlock.
All right.
But the thing I'd done wrong, a lot of blue rinse, you know, middle class people come in, and the trustees board and all that, and they wanted to write policies and all that. I actually wanted to deal with my people.
You wanted to do the...
Well, the thing is, Brian, it's my kids that are dying on the streets, my mothers that are crying in those houses in them slums, and the politicians that are still lying. And that's what I said. I said, my kids are crying, the mothers are crying, and politicians still lying and doing nothing about it, papering it up with people who know nothing about our world. I mean, if you want to know about poor people, go and live in a poor area, right? And if you get a politician, I hated the corruption, right? You've got politicians fiddling their expense accounts with duck ponds and all that. Yet if a mother on a council estate fiddled her benefits to get her kid a pair of shoes, she's doing 3 months.
It's insane, isn't it?
But no, it makes me angry. And I tell you something, you know, I was in the House of Lords, and this is one thing that everyone laughs at. I'm in the House of Lords, and the Lord can't now. I was a specialist advisor now, because they've seen what I do on television.
So your charity work's got you in a place where people are now pointing you out as a guy who can be asked about this.
Yeah, and I'm doing conferences for the Ministry of Justice. I'm doing motivational speaking. We're packing the house out, right? And people are going, this guy doesn't...
So this has transformed very quickly.
Yeah. So I'm up there doing that. So I'll go into... I'm on the House of Commons Home Affairs Select Committee as a specialist advisor. Then I do the House of Lords evidence for education, because I've always pushed education is liberation. I've always said that, and I want our kids educated out of slum areas and that sort of thing, right? So I'm there, and I had this law come up, and I couldn't believe it, what he said to me. He went, Bobby, I said, yeah, what's that? He went, from where you come from, because I'm a piece of shit, from where you come from to where you are now, this is in the House of Lords, I'm sitting there on this thing, and I'm looking at him. He said, how do you feel? I said, how do I feel? When I thought, right, you bastard. I went, I feel really at home. He said, do you? I said, yeah, I've dealt with gangsters all my life. That guy's never spoke to me ever since. Yeah. Every time he sees me now, he ducks it and goes.
Because you know the game, what's really going on.
Look, you know, I said to someone one day, they said, Joe, about gangsters. I said, look, there they are, all in the House of Parliament. I went, I've never chopped a kid's hand off to cut rubber out of trees. I've never dealt in slavery. I didn't have people working in the fields cutting sugar down for me, and if they didn't do, put the whip across their back. I said, and I didn't try and sell opium to the Chinese. I went, but all them sitting in there, that's their money. I said, they're all pimps. That's all their money. I went... Let's
not even get on to why they went to Iraq, etc.
Yes, of course. Why do they have wars? Who earns money out of wars?
Yeah.
Arms dealers. And instead of spending money on creation and the National Health Service and all those things of kids, right, they invest it in bombs to destroy us. So what sort of psychopaths you got in there? And they call me a bad guy. I tell you what, if we go to webinar, I'm going up with a few of them, I'd look like... Well, here go to me, shake hands, Bobby, come in and have a cup of tea.
Well, actually, that's kind of what they did, because they give you an OBE.
Well, that was amazing in itself, you know.
So how did that come about?
Well, first off, I was made a Life Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts and Commerce, all right? So that was the first letters behind my name. Then, because I promoted the Open University so much, and I did it at number 10 Downing Street, and I did it throughout prisons, I was awarded an honorary Masters at the university. Honour. And then we get this letter come through, all right, about the OBE. And I thought, first off, to be honest with you, George, right, first off, I thought, it's cut my pals, done a wind up, and they're taking the piss, right? No, this is what I thought, right? OBE, right? So Deborah, my secretary at the time, she went, no, this is real. It's got all the stamps. This is a real deal. Even the envelope's got the stamp on it. I said, phone them up. So she phoned
Give
them
the
up.
Queen a ring.
Right? So they phoned up the Chancellor's office, right? And I said to them, look, this is Bobby Cummines here. I said, I've just had this letter. I said, I think it's a prank. I said, about an OBE. And they went, no, we'd like to put you on the New Year's honours list on 2011. They went, will you accept it? Now, though I think most politicians are bent, and I wouldn't give them the time of day, I'm a total royalist.
Well, you're from that era as well, aren't you?
Total royalist. So I went, yeah, all right. I said, of course I'll accept it, great honour. But I'm not allowed to tell anyone, I got this in September, I'm not allowed to tell anyone until it comes out in the New Year's honours list, right? So everyone's sworn to secrecy. We've got to open that letter. So I go to my wife, and now I'm married to my wife, Ayumi, the Japanese one, because when my second daughter died, it messed my head up. And I started it in the bottle.
Right.
I didn't want nothing to do. I hated everyone. I was so close to going back to what I was. That was the first time in my life. I was so close. I hated everyone. I had a row with God, and I thought, why now? Why me? I'm doing it all right now. Why me now? Why didn't you do this years ago? And what turned me around, Brian, is my little baby was in a little wicker basket in the hospital, and I was numb. I'd never known pain like it. It brought me to my knees. I'd never feared nothing in my life. I'd never felt pain like that.
Well, that's kind of what I pick up from your story. Sorry to interrupt you. I feel like someone who's almost fearless, like hard man.
Brought me to my knees.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I don't mind. I cried like a baby, And I couldn't make sense of it, if this makes sense. And anyone, even if you've had a child die, anyone who says, I know you feel, they're absolutely talking nonsense. Because that grief is so personal. No, it's personal to each one of you differently. And so but it feels like someone's punched you in the chest and ripped your heart out. That's how it feels like. Mm-hmm. So I go through the hospital and I come up the stairs and I have to go through the intensive care baby unit because the hospital's shut down. Mm-hmm. So I go through there and there's the mums and dads with their little babies. Because I kept saying to my why me? Because you don't expect it to happen. It happens to other people. It never happens to you.
You read it in the paper.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And I walk through and I see these mums and dads sitting with their little babies, in these cubicle things. And a really weird thing happened. I thought, why not me? I wouldn't wish this on anyone else. I really wouldn't wish it on anyone else. And it seemed like something was lifted. And I go into the chapel and then the priest comes in and he went, do you want to kneel down and pray? Now the thing is, I could smell booze on his breath. I got my baby there and I went, I tell you what, you fuck off or I'll nail you up like your governor. I went, you got me. I went, I will really hurt you. And he's gone out the door. But I'm sitting there on my own, right, with this little baby in this thing, and my head completely went, And I come out there and I bought myself a big bottle of brandy. And I don't know if you've ever tried it. Try to get pissed and you can't.
I think when you're that emotional...
You can't.
In my life... I mean, I haven't experienced anything as bad as what you've just described, but I've had people die, and at that point, you're in that much pain, you just want to obliterate yourself.
That's right, but it don't happen.
Yeah.
But I went on like that, and it broke up my marriage in the end, and because I went to a funeral, the little white coffin, a lot, and
many marriages don't survive that.
You don't survive it, and
you weren't a drinker really before that. You drank bitter lemon.
Drank bitter lemon before that.
So
that's a fib. I started drinking. Well, what happened was my dad died, and I sat in the hospital with a gun because the police was looking for me. And the nurse went, "We got a photo of you. If you come in here, we're supposed to phone the police." And I opened up my coat, showed the gun. I went, "You call the old bill. There's going to be a lot of coppers in the intensive care unit on the slab downstairs." I went, "I'm here with my dad. We ain't going to cause no trouble." Mm-hmm. And she knew my dad. She'd got on well with him, so she went, "Well, can you put a gown on so you look like a patient?" So we sat there with a gun on and we gowned. And then sat there for a couple of days, right? And then my mum come and she went, "Look, you boys ain't had a shave, you ain't had a bath. Go home and I'll sit with him." And something in my head went, "Don't leave him," because we sat there, me and my brother sat there with him. But she kept on, look, go home, have a shower. And we come out, and my brother went, I want a pint. So I said, all right, go to the pub, have a pint. Got in there, he's having a pint, and my niece come in, she went, he's gone. The old man's gone. And that was the first rocking that hit me. But it didn't hit me like my daughter hit me. It's a different thing.
You're supposed to outlive your dad.
Yeah,
you're
but not your kid.
You're not supposed to outlive your
and
kid.
a lot of people said that to me, Brian, I don't expect to bury my baby.
Exactly.
So that happened. And I think that really, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I think knowing that pain, that brought back my humanity. That made me start caring about what happens to other people's kids, what happens in our community, and all that. It definitely done. It was an experience. I didn't want to hurt people anymore.
Yeah. So when people have died in my life, there was a person I talked to about this, and they said to me, "You can go one or two ways. You either go hard and abrasive, where you're almost untouchable to anything, or it softens you right up."
Someone said to me the other day, "Would you ever kill again?" And I said, I'd hate to have to do that, but if someone obviously threatened my family, I said I would take them and 3 of theirs. And he went, what? I said I would take them and 3 of theirs. He went, what do you mean by take? I went, well, those in that business know exactly what I mean. I said, I don't want to mess with anyone. I said, I live a lovely life. All the people around me are beautiful people. I married my wife, my Japanese wife, I mean, I took her son on. He's my son. His dad was a roadie. He's a Geordie.
Geordie bloke, really?
That's what I'm saying. My wife is the only Japanese bird who talks with Geordie accent. But it's where children are concerned. I've always been soft with kids anyway. They can get what they want out of me. My daughter once she went, I told her to go to bed, and a couple of my friends was there. There's still, I think there's always that little bit of the iffy of me. If I get cross with people, they take it quite seriously. and he said, your dad said go to bed, and she went, my dad, and she went like that. Now we're talking about an 8-year-old kid. She went like that, the little finger. And Joe went to me, did you see what she just done? I went, what's that? She went around my little finger. I went, yeah, I'll make her right. I said, it's true. I never smacked my child. I don't believe in knocking women about. I don't believe in beating kids. You can reason them with them, and there's other ways to chastise someone without violence, because it's bullying, whatever you do, And I've seen so much of it. I've seen people hacked to pieces, killed, murdered, and I don't want to see no more of it.
So just to bring this on from the story, how did you meet your Japanese wife then?
That is a really weird one.
Good.
Sometimes I get called in if people need to be looked after and they're not sure if they're going somewhere and it's a bad place. And
so you do a lot of talking to people, do you mean?
Yeah, I negotiate with people, and I make sure no one gets ripped off and that sort of thing, or if people are threatening violence on someone. It's handy having the old reputation, because when I go in now and I say it stops now because you don't want me on your doorstep, that normally ends it, So I'm quite happy with that, But that's how I met her. I was minding someone and I met her, and she was cheeky. I mean, a little bit leery, and
you couldn't be with anyone boring, could you?
I liked her, and we become very good friends. And then she was telling me about her husband and about Kai and that sort of thing, and the pain that they went through when he lost his dad and she lost her husband.
Oh, so you connected on that?
I connected on that.
Yeah.
Both widowers then?
And sorry?
Both widowers?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a widower because I had a daughter.
Right.
And my wife was still alive. And, there was no tricky business with me and my wife. We played it straight. That's why she's got a big house.
Right.
Right?
And you still play it straight now?
I play it straight now all the time.
Yeah.
She's got a big house, right? And they all, when we got the divorce, they all went, he'll have half the house, it's a big house. And they was all shocked when I went, even my solicitor, I went, no, she has the house. My daughter's life don't change, her life don't change. I said, but I want her off the books of my company, because in case I did anything, I didn't want her involved in it. And And so I give her the house. And everyone went, you're mad. It's worth a fortune, that house. And I went, I don't care. I said, you can always get things, you know, but I'm not going to wreck my daughter's life and her life for a couple of quid.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out right for me, because I went on and I earned some more money. And, you know, I look at it this way, you know, you come in this world, and this is my philosophy, you come in this world with nothing, yeah, except a name. You go out with it with nothing, except a name. What you do in between that decides the person you are. And I don't want my daughter or my Kai or any of the kids I love and all the people I love ever walking into a place where someone can say he was a rat, right? They can never say that. So I talked to my Sophie once. She went, Dad, you got a lot of letters up when I got the OBE, because you've got to imagine, Ami's met me, read all this terrible stuff about me, and her mum going to her, he's a Yakuza, you know, Japanese gangsters. Mm-hmm. And she went, no, Mum, he's really a lovely guy, you know, he's kind to us. And because I used to come over at Christmas so they could go up to the graves, their dad's grave, and his dad's grave, and lay flowers on it, and they'd come and stay, and I used to fill up big bags of toys for him and all that, you know, do it right for the kids, you know what I mean? Bloody hell, he's lost his dad, I know what it's like to lose. So it was friendship, you know. And then, I don't know, we just got married. I just said to her, I said, because I'm quite impulsive. And I said,
I identify with that.
I said, will you marry me? And she went, what? I went, will you marry me? And she went, well, yeah, I suppose so. And I said, well, we get on all right, don't we? I said, you know, I'm a nice person. And she went, I don't know about that. You have to meet my mum. And that's when I met her mum. Loveliest person, best mother-in-law I've ever had, her mum.
I love that. Right. Best mother-in-law.
It helps to have that, though, right?
Yeah, no, she's beautiful. She died, bless her. I even flew out to Japan when I heard she was dying of cancer.
Really?
I flew out there, I was sat by her bed. I didn't go nowhere else. Every morning, me and my wife and my guy were there. Mm-hmm. Every dinner time we was there, and every night time before she went to sleep, and we'd done that all the time. And she went to me, go and see the temples. I said, I've seen all that. I ain't come here to see them. I've come here to see you. And I bought her a doll, a little one with a China face. And she loved this doll. And when she died, she wouldn't let them take it away from her. You know, we were very close, me and my mother-in-law. Mm-hmm. And I had great respect for her. And so now my life, my daughter said to me, she went, Daddy, you've got a lot of letters out your name. I said, many years ago I had a lot of numbers. I said, but it's a lot better with the letters. Yeah. And
what is your life like these days?
It's peaceful. It's a bit chaotic sometimes. And sometimes I've got loads of money, sometimes I've got none. I'm very good at getting money. I'm not very good at keeping it.
Yeah,
I'll give it away.
I'm identifying with you. Yeah,
I'll give it away. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a sucker, but like if a kid wants something, like, and I know their family ain't got it, and they're friends of me, you know, because I don't have friends anymore. I've just an extended family, mm-hmm. Like, because I'm a good father to all their children, and so if they're going, oh, like she needs this for school, I don't say, well, I'll just go and get it. Mm-hmm. And if I want to buy a bit of jewellery, like they've all got crosses, right? Mm-hmm. Every one of them got a cross. My jeweller must think I'm a religious crank because I keep getting crosses for the babies when they're born. And I always say, when I'm not there to protect you, you will, you know, and that's how I am. So, and I never forget their birthdays. They never forget to send me on Father's Day a Godfather card and that sort of thing. I've got very close-knit people. I don't like lots of people around me. I'm paranoid about having too many people close to me, and that's from the old days, because I didn't know if someone was going to stick one in me, you know. So I'd go in my little country pubs, we have a little bit of dinner, have something to eat, the kids run about, and it's nice for me. And I've got a peaceful life, you know, and there's no price on that, you know. And that's why it's so important that I turn these kids away. I say to them, look, mugs take drugs, fools carry tools, right? You're going to wind up in a coffin either way. But if you're going to do that, I ain't telling you not to do it. It's up to you not to do it. But you can't say when you're banged up or when you're OD'd, right, I didn't know, because I've just told you. Mm-hmm. And also, you can realise the grief you leave behind. When you're dead, you're gone, right? You're dead, right? You wouldn't believe the grief you leave behind the other side of that coffin, that your mother and your father and your people who love you, you wouldn't believe the grief you give them. Do you want to give them that? And also tell them about when you get involved in that business, people come looking for you, especially now. In our days, we had rules. But now they kick your front door in, and they won't only cut you, they cut your mum, your dad, your little sisters and everyone. Mm-hmm. It's a different ball game now. And so I don't want them doing that when they could be doing something else.
I've got a couple more questions, but
then I've got those.
One more. We'll start with, if you didn't get fitted up at the start by that copper, do you think you would have gone down the road of crime?
To be honest with you, I don't, because it weren't in my head. But I would have probably pushed my job to be the best at it, because I think it's about little people. You've got to have very big egos to survive, you know, and I've got a massive one, you know? And my ego is 7 foot tall and maybe 5 foot wide, you know, because I can't just do something. I have to be the best at it. I have to push myself to the limit, and
I respect that.
I think, you know, I would have done well. Well, look at it now. I did well in my own businesses. I took a £6 charity and turned it into a national charity that was respected. I've been to South Africa. I've been to China.
Your charity, world famous, isn't it?
Yeah, and not now. It ain't. It's.
I read about it.
Yeah, they ain't doing nothing. Yeah. You know, all they're doing is trying to get an OBE, I think. But I look at it and I like Japan, Africa. I've done Africa, India. You know. If I'd have told the governor of Parkhurst that I would be travelling the world, right, Ireland, Europe, all over the world, talking about how to reduce crime, right, now going back to Parkhurst when I was bang at it, right, and I was going to meet the Queen and she would give me an OBE, he would have sent me straight over to the psychiatrist and I would have been on the Wally juice, right? Yeah. But I've done all that. Yeah, but I've done all that. Yeah. And what I say to kids, no matter how bad it gets, right? No matter how bad it gets and no matter what you've done, you can turn it around if you want. Or you can carry on doing what you're doing. But everyone's got a choice. And sometimes it ain't going to work. You know, sometimes I've tried things and they ain't worked out and I've been gutted because I know it would have worked and it would have done right by the kids. When I wanted to build that, what was it, £280 million, I got investment to build a village, a training village. Now there's a company in the Midlands, and this is how this idea came. It's called Phoenix Training Midlands. Now they've got the best record for forklift truck driving. Not all kids want to go to university, right? They do all these other training things. They do
actual skills.
Oh yeah, and the guy is committed. Geezer, Trevor Cox, he's totally committed. Now he was one of them hanging and flogging brigades. Until he met me. He come to a conference where I was doing the talk and he said, I didn't realise the obstacles ex-offenders are up against. After that, the guy, he's a multi-millionaire, he's turned it all the business around and he caters for the most disadvantaged people in our country and he does it properly. He's not there to nick a few quid. He's there to make sure, and the write-ups he gets, well, he's getting lots of government contracts now. But that's what you need, not, do you need a pair of trainers? Did your mummy smack you? Don't need that crap. Get out of bed. Do you want a job or what? Do you like? Well, I'll give you one thing before you ask me the next question afterwards. I had a drug dealer in prison. This kid, his father sold, and it weren't puff. It was puff. It weren't heavy duty, but he sold a bit of puff. Right? He goes to children's home. He comes out. He goes back to his dad, same area, back to his dad, sells more puff. Winds up, he's in prison in the end, with 3 years wrapped round his belt. So I said, Levi, I said, what you in for? He said, well, I'm in for selling. He said, I don't sell powder. He was really iffy. He went, I only sell God's weed. He was a rasta. And I went, is that right? I said, when you get your bit of gear? He said, yeah. I said, do you test it to make sure it's not snide, it's good gear? He went, yeah. I said, quality control. I said, when you're looking at selling it, do you find out what area you can get the most dough at? He went, yeah. I went, market research. I said, and when you're looking at who's going to run it for you, you pick the guy you can trust the most? He said, yeah. I said, distribution networking. I said, you've got all the skills of a manager who's just selling the wrong product, son. I said, if you were selling Chanel, you'd be driving a Porsche and the old bill wouldn't keep kicking your door in at 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, you've got all the brains now. Now, this is the catch. That was one thing, because I used to do this a lot in different schools and prisons. Getting their potential, how can I turn it into a positive one, yeah? I'm going through Westminster because I'm going on one of these meetings, the talk shops, We go there 1 week, we talk about the same shit, how we're going to solve it, and then it goes on for a year and we're all talking flat. I hate talk shops. Gone there, right, because nothing comes out of them. It's bits of paper, right? Going along there, all of a sudden I hear beep. Look round, there's this van, right? Looked at it's him in the van with a couple of other geezers. He went, Bobby. I went, hello, mate, how are you? It's pulled over. He said, get in the van. So I went, you all right? What's going on? He's got ladders on the top of it, right? So he said, fancy a bit of breakfast? I went, yeah. I said, but you're paying, right? So we had a little laugh, I would have paid, but he didn't. He went, no. So we go and have this bit of breakfast. He started up his own window cleaning company. He took on board what I said. He went and learned from the bank. I don't know what bank it was, but they taught him how to do books,
Mm-hmm.
So he goes and learns off this bank woman, right? I don't know where they got the first set of ladders from, I don't care, but they're doing the window clean business. He starts building up around. Then he employs a pal who's come out the nick, so that's another one gone straight. He's working with him. They built up quite a nice, there's 3 of them, right? When I met him, God knows what he's got now. He went, Wyber, he said, do you know what I'm thinking of doing? I said, what's that? Now this is before this all come out over it. He said, I think of going into car valeting. So he's used that entrepreneurial skill that he had, he's always had, right, for positive things. So it costs, in them days, it cost, £57,400 a year to keep a young man in jail. Not high security, up to a young man in jail, right? But he saved this government, by them all working, plus he's paying the tax, over 150 odd grand a year. At least. Now, if I could have built that village, right, I could have taken all these people out of jail, put them into training that they wanted to do, not training I was making them do. Because you've got to give people choice. What's good for one ain't good for the other. And this is what they've got an habit of doing, Brian. They stick people in little boxes, and they call it key performance indicators, KPIs, KPTs, key performance targets. KPIs was invented by Nuts in the Home Office, right? And I used to say KP Nuts. Yeah, it's Nuts in the Home Office, right? So what you've got to do is look at these kids and think, how can we do it? And there's no good just sitting around talking it in talk shops and getting all these people who don't know what they're going through, right? They blame it on every kid now. You never heard of people with like mental health problems because they don't want to deal with it. Oh, he's hyperactive. No, he's bored to tears because the teacher don't know how to teach him and he's made the school boring. The kid, why not have him learn basic maths, basic English? If he wants to go and do bricklaying, plumbing, all that, last year, pull him out of school and put him on a course.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that doesn't go on, and it needs to be.
It needs to be looked at.
It's frustrating, isn't it? Bureaucracy just gets in the way of.
No, I tell you what. Right, I'll tell you something. Right. Say, for instance, right. Now this is where you're going to think I'm really insane, right?
I don't think you're insane, mate.
Right. Take, for instance, if crime ended tomorrow, if I found a way saying, right, no criminals tomorrow, judges are out of work, police are out of work. Solicitors are out of work, barristers out of work, probation's out of work, social workers out of work, right? Where's the jobs going to come to fill them slots?
It wasn't just you making a living off of crime, mate.
No, this is what I said. This is what I said in the book, right? I was in the criminal business. I wasn't a gangster. I knew how it was because I watched what my brief was getting off me. I mean, one of the biggest robbers I've ever met in my life, and legal. I'll get you out of this, Bobby, I can help you, boy, you're looking at a big one here. I look at him, I think, legal robbery.
Yeah.
It's a racket of sorts. Course. It's, in many ways, it's the similar to putting bricks through your windows and then saying before the third time.
The thing is, they're doing a deal with the old Bill anyway, trading off.
Well, basically, yeah.
Yeah, they're trading off. Well, you can have him if you let this one go, or go easy on that, and there's a few quid in it. They're all in the swindle. Right? So, in them days, I knew how it was working. So, why should I respect them? I've met some really good coppers, and I've met some really good prison officers, and I've met really good judges. But I've also met the other ones who ain't. And they're worse. They're equivalent to the criminal enterprise, as we want to call it, the supergrass in there. Them bent coppers are worse than that. Yeah. Because they disgrace all the other ones, and they see that warrant card as a Barclay bank card that they can go around cashing in on. Right? Got no respect for them. No respect for them at all. Got respect for the normal copper on the beat. But when you get specialised squads like the robbery squad, the drug squad and all that, they're seeing all us fillers earning a lot of dough, and they're thinking, I want some of that. I want a couple of hundred, well, on maybe 30, 60 grand a year. These people are earning that in a month.
Undermines the whole system.
Ain't going to be too hard to corrupt them, is it?
Very easy when you've got as much money as the criminals are making.
Well, yeah.
So it's just sliding
it's the same as when you're in prison.
Yeah.
You know, those who ain't got nothing live on the prison rations. Those who are connected and got a few quid, you're eating steak. And that is fact.
Yeah, I've
and
seen
anyone
that.
who's done bird will tell you that. You know, you have your own, what they call it, your food boat. While the others are eating, this is a bit of dodgy meat, we've nicked the best bit of meat out the kitchen and we're eating it. And, you know.
It's like Goodfellas, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's how it works. It's business. Go on, Brian.
Yeah, I've just got one more question, unless you've got
really?
I was going to finish on my last question.
I guess I was just sort of wondering what it's like to be around other dangerous people or people who are considered to be dangerous. Because the way you describe the Krays or Charlie, you sound not affectionate towards them, but it sounds very familiar.
No, to be honest with you, yeah, I am affectionate towards them. Because I also see their suffering. You bang up, listen, I've done a lot of bad things in my life. I've never banged someone up in a concrete box and tortured them for 30 years. That is sick, right? Nothing's done with them. It's the same as Charlie Bronson. That guy ain't killed no one. You've got paedophiles and rapists getting out before him, and they're banging that guy up. If that ain't a crime against humanity, I don't know what is. He ain't even killed anyone. You know? At least I had. And Craze had. Charlie hadn't. Charlie got 25 years for GBH. But the real story of that was he was a political prisoner because he bugged Darryl Wilson's office. That's what all that was about. That was a political move. Reading it, go and look through any criminal record, you find me anyone else who got 25 years for GBH. He wasn't even in the country, he was in South Africa.
What was it like being in London at that time? Because it sounds a lot like you can't go to... So, for instance, after you'd had your problem with the triads, could you then go to that part of town, or would you stay away from those areas?
I didn't give a monkey's about anyone.
Right.
Look, you know, I think what made me so violent was because I'm so little, you know.
Right.
And so when you're up against nasty big people, right, you've got to have the edge. And nothing greater an edge than having a tool. So it makes you more violent because you think, I've got to take this person out seriously, otherwise he's going to take me out. And so it's a really vicious circle you're caught up in. And
Survival of the fittest, isn't it?
Yeah, and so, like, and you've got to imagine as well, in them days, the hippie thing was coming to an end, so there was a free love, which was quite nice. And they was all, like, walking around with flowers in their hair, which meant good, because why they're not out doing villainy and they're all sitting there peace and love, I'm out getting a few quid. So, you know...
Yeah, you're happy those fuckers are asleep.
Yeah,
London was very different then, though. Like, it was very different to what it is now.
There was, I'll tell you what, there was characters in London, like guys that was kiting, there was the Hells Angel guys that were all good. So everyone goes back to these Hells Angel, lovely guys, you know what I mean? Really good guys. I mean, Nick and all.
Right. I've met people who know the Hells Angels very well. I used to be a diver with one of the Hells Angels and didn't describe them the way you have.
No.
Look,
lovely guys.
If you messed with them, because they had their own rules, their chapters and all that, and they'd done each other. Look, similar to like we're doing each other. They had their own society, we had ours. But you look at what they've done, they're running on motorbikes, blood banks, you know. The guys, this is what I'm saying, you label someone and everyone goes, that's him. How can you know the guy until you've met him and you've...
Yeah, to be fair, the fella who I was diving with was a really nice guy, to be fair. I suppose it depends on the context that you take people in, though, because everyone is capable of bad things. If you put them in a situation where that's what they have to do... Right. Everyone is.
He was a nice guy to you. It's like I'm nice to people that are nice to me. So you was nice to him, he was nice to you. And so you respected him, he respected you. People respect me,
you
I
hear the
respect
reputation of what people have done. Yeah. And I guess the Hells Angels, when you hear... There was a great series on a while ago describing some of the things that they did. I mean, they were making meth and stuff like that, from what I remember. Just vicious, the way they would end people, like it was nasty.
I'll tell you something, I could take you now, because when I was out in South Africa, I was in Cape Town, because I was meeting the ANC, right, and because I had to look in their jails. I was sponsored by a law firm to go out there and have a look at what was going down, but I met, and the law firm represented the ANC, so I was out there, and so it was now terrorists, they're now High Court judges, the ANC, right, so I'm staying with, I call them my South African family. He was supposed to be a bomber. She was like a terrorist. Now she's an High Court judge, and he's a top human rights lawyer. So I stay with him when I go over there. And I go into a shanty town, and we meet people living in metal shacks, really. Yeah. And what happens is you've got the I think it's like from Mexico, places like that, going in there and they take over their place, do the crystal meth, right? They go in, the authorities, they're gone with the gear, but they got the kids addicted to it. You've got more AIDS and prostitution out there, young prostitution, because when they're making it, they're hooking them up on it. And all the jails are full of these young kids that have been runners for them, done that. And that's why, when you're talking about stuff like that, the heroin, crystal meth, you know, that kid don't know what he's doing. You're not just destroying that kid, you're destroying the whole of his family, the grief that's left behind. That's why I won't deal in that business. I refuse to deal in it.
In drugs in general?
I made a rule. I don't deal in filth. I don't deal in pornography, pimping, people, slavery, and I don't deal in drugs. But I deal in gambling, I deal in money lending, and I deal in anything else that's living.
But you were running alongside a lot of people at that time who were.
But that's their business.
Yeah.
Look, in the morning, right, and you know this, Brian, right, when I was working, what I was doing, I used to get up in the morning and I had an angry face and I didn't like the world. I'd get up in the morning, I like me now.
Right.
I like me now. I couldn't say that to you before. I didn't give a shit about anything. You know, I really didn't. Mm-hmm. But I actually like me now, and I like my little life. You've been through quite
a dramatic change in your life.
Yeah.
You've been on a hell of a ride.
Yeah. And it ain't stopped yet.
Nah, thank God, mate.
Yeah.
What's your experience been like? Because you got to travel to all these different countries. Do you see a similar system in each of these countries?
Do you know what I'm saying? It's much the same everywhere. You've got those who've got, those in the middle who want to be the guys at the top, and the poor bugger down the bottom who just wants a meal. Right? So, no, it's no different anywhere.
Same in Japan as well?
In Japan, it's very cunning in Japan because it's very kept under wraps. You've got the Yakuza. The Yakuza deal with Yakuza. And you might find out that someone's killed and it's a Yakuza killing. But you could go there, your wife could stand out on the street, right, 3 o'clock in the morning, no one go near her, no one molest her, right? You don't see the police, they're hidden. I stood in, when I was in Osaka, I stood in it once, one night, and I was thinking, where do I want to go? I want to go and have a drink. Where do I want to go? And I stood there for about 5. Straight away, cut the old bill come out and went, are you all right, sir? You know, you lost your, take you back to your hotel. I went, no, it's all right, I live here, you know, and I'm going to have a drink. Oh, all right then, you know, and then they vanish again. They got special coaches on trains for nervous women. Right? The guard walks along the train with a white glove on, strokes the seat, and if there's dirt on that, the cleaners are on the next seat. There's a lot of respect. The kids get up. If you're in there, you're a guest of their country, they get up and they offer you a seat. So even the elderly do that, you know. It's totally, the crime is sort of non-existent. I mean, there was a big flash on the television out there, and I said to my car, I went, what's all that about? Because if we get a news flash, it's someone murdered someone, hacked someone up, or it's a big crime thing. He went, it's terrible that. I said, what's that? He went, that guy on there, he said, he got caught smoking drugs in college, a joint. It's disgraced the whole of the family. The father had to give up his job to and move to a different prefecture because of the shame it brought on the family. You could blow someone's head off here and still live in the same house, and they go, well, he ain't a bad boy.
Yeah.
You know, he's a little bit misguided.
Yeah. No one tends to feel shame here, and especially living in Dalston, you hear a lot of stories of people crossing between areas.
Well, there was a girl killed on Thursday, stabbed to death in South London.
Mm-hmm. Well, you look at that one, that young girl out, you know, with her little mate. There's a bit of gang warfare over a bit of drugs. They machine gunned her and killed her dead, 15 years of age.
Mm-hmm. Fucking insane.
You know, it's crazy. You know, it's even crazy in my book, and I've seen terrible things.
I must admit, like coming from Newcastle to London, even that is a big difference. Like this isn't. Look, this is not a good place to bring a family.
You know, up in Geordie land, right? If you've got the young bookies, you're going to wind up punching his lights out. It's going to end there. It's going to be a bit of punch up. So no one might get hurt a little bit, but they ain't driving by shooting little 15-year-old girls.
It's fucking disgraceful, isn't it?
You know, I'll tell you what, you know, and this is why we cry. I'm glad he's in Japan. I'm glad my daughter don't use my name. She uses her mother's name, her mother's maiden name. No one knows my daughter. Mm. And we agreed on that, because that way, if anyone had the aunt with me, they can't touch my daughter.
Yeah.
And if they went near, I'd wipe out the whole of their family.
All right. We'll leave it on that, shall we, mate? Mm. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And you.
And I thank you for your time today, because I think I've learned something. And I like yourself. I like to learn something. One last question I'd like to ask you. is, how would you like to be remembered? Take your time.
God, that is an hard one, that.
Yeah.
How would I like... I'd like to be remembered for my humanity and not my brutality. I'd like to be remembered for the good things I've done. But also, someone once said to me, do you regret the past, what you've done? And I said no, because if I didn't have done that, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now. I wouldn't have the credibility to be able to do what I do now. But no, I'd like to be remembered for my humanity and not my brutality.
Fantastic, mate. You've got a book out. For those who want to buy it, probably be able to search it on Amazon. What's it called?
I'm Not a Gangster.
I'm Not a Gangster.
And everyone laughs when they read that.
I did laugh that because you instantly think, probably a gangster. So we'll put the link for that in the description below. If anyone wants to buy it and get even more of of your story, I'm sure that'll be in there.
The thing is, it's because I bought another book out, Paranoia, but that's about jail. And the best book, because with I'm Not a Gangster, it shows you how it evolves.
Right.
And how your own children... See, this is why I wanted that in schools. And I wanted mums and dads to read it, because it shows you how your kid can get sucked into that. Right?
So
it's really a book, not about... Well, it's a book about crime, and there's some vicious stuff in it, you know, because I have to tell the truth. But really, it's a book about redemption. No matter how bad it gets, and what you've done. And I say to the kids, you can't do as worse than I've done. But look what I've done now. And any kid, and if I get one kid, then my life has been worthwhile.
Nice one.
If I turn one kid away from that life, because I don't want them to have the life I had then. I don't want no kid to have that. I want them to have the life I got now. It's pretty cool.
Good for you, mate.
Not bad for an old guy, going
well done, yeah.
Plastic teeth, and I've got to have my new ones done in the bottom tomorrow.
Good luck for that, mate. It's been
Bless
a pleasure.
you all, and you, Brian, and you, mate.
So if you've enjoyed this, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more podcasts. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.